Welcome back to Woodworker's Workshop. Today we're going to cut out our Christmas nativity scene. We have a local customer who's looking to have one made, so that's what we're going to do. This is our full-size pattern. The first sheet contains most of the nativity, except the roof part, and it also contains the 3D star that's over here. And mixed in a bunch are just a bunch of bonus patterns just to make use of the scrap wood. The little ornaments you can hang off your porch or your tree that's in your front yard or something like that. And then the second page of the plan includes the roof portion and a pattern for the fence rails if you want to use fence rails. So first thing I had to do is cut out the roof portion and get it taped to the bottom portion. There, the pattern is now ready for cutting. Now what I'm going to do is line up the bottom edge of the pattern to the edge of the plywood, and we'll start cutting.
Are you going to use tracing paper or just cut?
Well, you have two ways that you can cut these out. You can use a jigsaw or you can use a router with a small bit on it. Normally, when I made these, I would trace all the lines and then go back with a jigsaw. On another project, I used a router. Same thing, I traced the lines first onto the plywood, and then cut it with the router. This time I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm going to try using the router. I'm not going to bother tracing the lines. It certainly will speed up making the project, but I just want to see if that's going to work or not. Might be best thing since sliced bread, or it might be a colossal failure. But there's only one way to find out. So. Try the router first, and if it doesn't work, then I'll go back to doing it the traditional way. So that works. It probably takes just as long to cut that as, well, a little bit longer than, say, if you were using a jigsaw, but it certainly is cleaner. It doesn't, because of the small router, but you can only go so small when you're cutting through 3/8" plywood. So all the sharp corners will still have to be detailed with the jigsaw. And you still got to touch it up with sandpaper to ease the edges. Just an experiment to see, save yourself an hour of tracing by just starting the cutting. So what happened here was that the router bit climbed. It didn't stay at its height. So I noticed it just didn't start routing. I was kind of fighting with it when I was coming from this point to this point. And I thought it might have been the stick underneath that I was cutting through. But the router bit climbed, so it didn't cut all the way through here. So I'm going to finish off the router to this point, and then I'm probably just going to go ahead with the jigsaw traditionally and finish off the project that way. So that's how you can cut out with the jigsaw. If you were just cutting out a silhouette in one perimeter cut, like a black shadow silhouette of a dog or something like that, you could literally just lay the pattern down, cut it with the jigsaw, and be done with it. But where this is going to get into some detail on the inside here with Mary and the manger and all those parts, I'm going to slip tracing paper underneath, and I'm going to trace all the inside lines. And I'm going to peel the paper back and continue cutting with the jigsaw. Tracing the lines. And here again, it's just the pattern. You can use it as a guide. If you want to change it up, you can. You can change the shape however you like. If you want to see more of a thumb here, you probably could go like that. And if you get successful in cutting it out, well then, good for you. So yeah, that's tracing. You got the black tracing paper underneath, and you can see here that all the lines are transferred. So
You got those notches there.
Is that there?
No, on the pattern. These ones.
I'm not going to do the notches because the lady who wants
this
doesn't want the railing. So.
Gotcha.
And actually, I probably should have turned it the other side. I did take a quick look looking for, but I thought all the knots were sealed, and then I see this one. So, that'd be my mistake. Let's see if I can fill it.
Can't you just paint the other side? You know what I mean? Just paint the other side?
Sure. It just means Mary's on the other side. It's just the reverse. That's all.
I don't think that matters, or does it?
And here we're drawing the manger, baby Jesus, and you can see there's like stuff that sticks out here that's like straw. It's supposed to indicate straw. I mean, you could do something like that here if you want to change this up a little bit. It's totally up to you. You know, that's the benefit of pattern. You can just use it as a guide and change it up if you like to make it your own. If you want, you could draw like a halo. At some point I'm going to come up to the edge of the tracing paper. I only got one sheet tracing paper. Now what I'll do, I'm going to get my other sheet, that way I don't have to move anything. One sheet of trace paper will get the job done, but it just means you'd have to lift your paper, slide over your tracing paper, and finish the tracing, but I'm just going to add on another piece here. Where am I at with him? Somewhere up around there. In order to get into these cuts that are inside the board, you just got to drill a hole, that's all. So it would help if I had that on. You just got to drill a couple of holes. I've already gone and traced the lines, so I'm just going to... Now for doing these small cuts, when you get into the face, you can certainly go with a regular jigsaw bit. That's a coarse tooth one for fast cutting. You could also get into the smaller blades that allow you to do tight turning. So this one's got more teeth for a finer cut. This one's got less teeth for a faster cut. It's your preference which one you want to use. I am going to use probably that one there. Sharp blade, new blade, makes for very little leftover sanding to do. And of course the grain I applied was this way, so you're cutting with the grain and you won't have as many splinters. And I will cut down this way and create quite a bit more splinters. I'm guessing maybe if I cut this way it might have been less, don't know. I might try it here, we'll see what the difference is. It's always when you're cutting with the grain you'll have less splinters. So yeah, a lot less, well, a few there, but a lot less jagged than there. So I'm guessing the grain of this layer of wood on the plywood is going in this direction. So, all right. Adjust my board. So our nativity is cut out, and you can see where I'd cut along the line, then cut off Mary's chin and went straight up to her forehead, and then I went back, cut off this piece here to make some space so that then I could turn the saw this way and nibble into all the little curved parts on her face. I did the same thing up here. You know, when you want to get to a point, the quickest way is to go this way and then go this way and then start here and make your way down. So little tricks like that. So up with is Nativity. It turned out pretty good. Okay, so sand some edges, get it a coat of, I use white deck stain. I prefer using deck stain for outdoor projects rather than paint because stain doesn't peel like a lot of the paints do. So that'll be my choice. I usually use an Olympic brand, semi-transparent, like I said, white, and we're doing the same thing on the lighthouse, white. Semi-transparent. The wood still shows through on the first coat, but you give it a second coat, it's a pretty decent solid white, if that's what you're after. So it's all sanded and ready for staining or painting, if that's what you're using. A quick way to sand all the edges is, I mean, yes, you could take a piece of paper or wrap some sandpaper around a stick or a block and go around the edges that way. But what I find works really well, takes off like 90% of the splinters that come off on the side, is just use your hand sander, your palm sander or random orbit sander. That's what I have. And I put some 220 grit on it. And it took off almost all of it. I just had to get into a couple of small places with the sandpaper by hand and took care of it. So now we're going to mix up some deck stain. This is Olympic brand. Solid color, outside white. Doesn't look all that healthy. It's been sitting in the basement for a couple of years now. Hasn't been used. But a long time ago I bought one of these. It's the perfect thing for bringing paint and stain back to life. Do that for a couple of minutes. Get it all back together right nice. And get busy staining. Welcome back to Woodworker's Workshop. Today I'm finishing the part of the Nativity scene, one of the projects in our store. It's the 3D star. It's one piece there, another piece here on the pattern, and you can see the slot here and the slot here. They go together kind of like that. So finished tracing out this pattern, now working on this pattern, and full-size plans calls for that slot is 5/8. So if you're not using 5/8 thick plywood, you could use 1/2 inch, you could use 3/4 inch, you can use any thickness plywood you want. What I'm using here is 3/8. So if you want the pieces to fit together correctly, you have to size the slot to the thickness of the plywood. And the easiest way to do that is just to take a scrap piece of plywood, lay it so that it's centered in the slot. There's a bit of space here. Look around it, a little bit more space there. And you just go back and forth till you get it just about centered. That's pretty good like that. And then you take your stylus or pencil or whatever it is that you're drawing your lines and just mark your lines to the thickness of the plywood. Finish off the little piece in the end. And that's basically it. Then you just proceed with the rest of the lines. So we got one star cut out, and this is the slot for meets to the other side. And a quick way to make sure that you got your slot the right size is just fit it over the end, and it fits nice and snug. So that means it'll fit well into the next one that I had to cut out. So on to the next one. Okay, so what you end up with when your 2-star pieces are cut out, you can fit them together. Like so. And that's what you end up with, a 3D star. Now, the plan calls you can make this just like this and glue it together and hang it separately, you know, from a tree or something like that, paint it yellow. Or you can mount it to the top of the Nativity. That's what we're going to do now. In order to do that, we've got to cut a slot in back here that can fit onto the stable. The plan calls for a slot to be cut here. I didn't cut it originally because I just wanted to show just the Nativity by itself. But I'm going to cut a small slot here, and then we're going to cut a small slot in this piece here so that they can fit down one together. And when I'm done, then I'll come back and I'll show you guys what that looks like. So I decided I'll show you how to do this. So you're just going to take a board, scrap piece of board from the same piece of plywood that you've cut from. Find the center. Come down about 3 inches or so. Mark it with a pencil. You're going to cut that out with the jigsaw. So I'm just going to get that measurement. What did that turn out to be? That was I went down about 2 3/4. So now what we're going to do, we're going to grab the star, and you have to know which one to cut. So you're going to take your star apart. This is the one that you want to cut. You're going to remove so much of this right here. So I'm just going to put this back together for a minute. You're going to take your board and mark about a line that says 2 3/4. Now, you can see the pencil line here. That's 2 3/4. So you're going to come till that 2 3/4 meets the edge of the star. What you're going to do, you're going to pencil a line like that, like so, and across the top. I think might even double that, because I don't think this will be enough. So on the star, instead of 2 3/4, I'm going to double it. So what I end up with, I'm going to remove that from this part of the star. So you can see I cut that part out, I'm going to slide that back together. You can see there's a slot there now. So I'm going to just position the Nativity over here. My theory is right, that should hang right down through there, like so. It's a little tight. There we go. I think I might have to take a little bit off of it, just because once this star gets painted, it'll have 2 coats of yellow on it probably. It'll make, the space a little bit narrower, so I'll just shave some more off the jigsaw. So our nativity scene is done. I used 3/8" plywood. It's a little on the thin side. You probably could be better off using 3/4" plywood because it is a little wobbly using the thinner plywood. So you're going to want to put wooden stakes in behind each part of the stable to keep it from wobbling so much. The unique feature of our project here is a 3D star, and it comes apart like so. Full-size drawings in the plan. And like I said earlier in this video, to get it to fit onto the you can have it just like this and hang it in a tree somewhere, or you can cut out this slot that you see here, match it to this slot that's right there, slide them over, and you're done. So that's our project, nativity scene.